Well, hello, hello, hello. Good evening. I am Dr. LaWanda N. Evans, and I help women and couples build stronger relationships for a lifetime of commitment and love. I am a licensed professional counselor, a healthy relationship expert, speaker, and writer, and relationship therapist. So tonight I'm going to talk to you all a little bit about 7 ways to have a better relationship. So welcome to another segment of The Truth About Your Relationship. 7 ways to have a better relationship. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm not going to be before you long this evening. And so let's just talk a little bit about, your relationship in particular, your marriage. Let's talk about the foundation. Let's talk about the things that are actually needed in order for you to have a better relationship, in order for you to have the relationship that you want, in order for you to have the relationship you've always dreamed about. Let's talk about 7 things you can do, or 7 things that you should put in place in order for you to have that healthy, loving, lasting relationship. So the first thing you want to make sure that you want to make sure that you and your mate have a genuine friendship. Well, what does that really look like? When you talk about friendships between male and female and in the dating phases and in the marriage, what does it really look like for you and your mate to develop a genuine friendship? So what that looks like is having a deep knowledge of each other, being intimately familiar with each other. How well do you know each other? Do you know each other well enough? How much information do you know about one another? Also, friendship also has a lot to do with updating each other about what's changed in your life, updating each other about the things that are actually going on in your world. Many a times we want to have that friendship with our mate that we have with our homeboys, that we have with our homegirls or our girlfriends, and it's really not the same. When I talk about developing a deep friendship with your mate, this is a time for you to become intimately familiar with each other, knowing relevant information about each other. And you want to be able to do this by spending time with each other, by taking time and sitting and talking to each other about those things that are important to you, updating each other about the things that have actually changed, talking to each other about what you need now versus what you needed maybe 6 years ago or 5 years ago or even a year ago. And so I want to challenge you in this area of friendship. Take at least 20 minutes and sit down and talk to each other about how much you've changed since you first met, and then talk to each other about what you need right now in a friend as it relates to your mate, and then begin to update each other on the things that have actually changed since the first day that you actually met each other. And so the second thing you want to do is you want to show each other appreciation. How do you show each other appreciation? What are the things that you do to cherish one another? One of the things that I've realized in my work with couples, people start out showing each other appreciation. They start out cherishing each other. But for some reason, doing those things, or even saying that I appreciate you, or saying that I thank you, or just showing that, hey, I appreciate you for just being you, or I appreciate you for the things that you actually do and how you take care of the family, or either how you take care of me. I found that begins to decline as people begin to get comfortable with one another. And so you don't ever want to get so comfortable in your relationship that you stop appreciating each other, that you stop showing each other appreciation, and that you stop cherishing each other. You always want to make each other feel that you're worthy, and you always want to show respect. You always want to feel and to know that you are respected and that you are honored in your relationship. So the second thing you want to do is show each other appreciation, and don't let that stop because you've been together for so long. Don't allow the fact that you think you know your mate so well and you're so comfortable with your mate that you stop showing each other appreciation. And that's the thing that I found like I stated before, in working with couples, that people have gotten so comfortable in their relationships, in their marriages, that they have stopped showing each other how much they appreciate each other. And one of the things that I always hear couples say, oh, he already knows. Oh, she already knows. Okay, that may be true, but it doesn't hurt to actually tell the person, I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you for all you've done. Thank you for all you're doing. I appreciate you for the man that you are. I appreciate you for being a good wife, for being a good mother. Begin tonight, this evening, and let your mate know how much you appreciate him or how much you appreciate her. So the third thing you want to do, you want to build trust and connection. What are you doing right now in your relationship to build trust and build connection? What are some of the small moments that you're taking time out to connect with each other? Whether it's washing dishes together, maybe cooking together, doing things around the house together, or maybe just sitting and watching television and putting away your phones while you do that and really giving each other your undivided attention. What are you doing to build trust and connection? Building trust and connection is very important to the success and the health of your relationship. You want to build trust and connection by giving each other attention. And giving each other attention does not mean I'm doing one thing and you're on your cell phone, or your mate is trying to talk to you and you're either on your cell phone or you're doing other things around the house saying, oh, I'm multitasking. No. To build trust and connection, you have to give each other attention. You have to give each other undivided attention. Other ways of building trust and connection, being helpful to each other. What are things you do around the house or even within outside of the house to help each other? If you know that there's something that needs to be done, why not help your mate? Why not, just out of the blue, for us ladies, that the garbage needs to be taken out, and you may have a husband that's always traveling, always doing things, he always on the go, and he may miss it one morning. Well, instead of nagging and getting mad and get upset, hey, just put it out. It's okay. That's being helpful to each other. That's being a team player. That's saying, you know what? I know you have a lot going on. I know there's a lot going on in your life right now. I know you have a lot of deadlines going on. You know what? I'm going to help you out. I'm going to do this part. I'm not going to complain about it. I'm just going to step in and be a team player, and I'm going to help you out. And the same thing with me. You see your wife is handling so much. She's taking care of the kids. If you all have kids, she's, going to PTA meetings, just doing all these things. And hey, she may not cook one night. It's okay. Order in or either cook yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. That shows your mate that, number one, you are being a team player, and it also helps to build trust and connection when you're being helpful to each other. So think about some ways tonight that you can be helpful to your mate. Either it can be something small as having coffee ready in the morning when they get ready to go to work. It can be something as simple as taking the car right now and fill it up with gas. So when they get into the car in the morning, hey, the car is already filled with gas. So identify ways that you can be helpful to each other. And that would help to build trust and connection. Other ways to build trust and connection is being honest. Not lying about things, being committed, keeping your word, and doing what you say you're going to do. These are the things that help to build trust and connection in your relationship. Number 4, respect each other's differences and opinions and feelings. There is nothing wrong with being different from your mate. It doesn't mean that the relationship is going to fail or that the relationship is over. There's nothing wrong with respecting each other's differences. That is the number one reason why a lot of people have a lot of conflict in their relationship, is because they do not respect each other's differences. They do not respect each other's opinions, and they do not respect each other's feelings. So instead of trying to make your mate not communicate or doing and saying things suggesting that your mate doesn't have an opinion, or what your mate is saying or what he or she is thinking don't matter, instead of doing that, respect the fact that they have a difference of opinions. And there's nothing wrong with having a difference of opinions. There's nothing wrong with having different feelings about certain situations as it relates to your relationship, as it relates to different topics that you all may talk about. Your differences are what make you unique in your relationship. So you have to be able to respect the fact that your mate is different from you. And if you wanted to be with someone who was just like you, then you probably should have stayed by yourself. So if you're going to get into a relationship and you're going to marry somebody, you got to develop the ability to respect the fact that they are different from you, that they're not going to see things the way you see things, that they're going to have a different opinion about a lot of things, and that they're not going to feel the same way you feel when it comes to different situations. So being able to respect that, being able to honor that, and being able to take your mate's opinions and feelings into account. Don't disregard or push your mate away because their feelings and opinions are different from yours. Take their opinions and their feelings into account. And then being able to honor each other and respect each other. You know, so many people have been in relationships so long that they have stopped honoring and respecting each other. Those two things are so important to the success of your relationship. And so what you want to do is begin to develop the ability to do that. Begin to develop the ability to honor and respect one another. And if you know that you have disregarded some things that your mate has said, or disregarded your mate's opinions, or disregarded your mate's feelings, apologize. Just go to your mate and say, you know what? I apologize for disregarding your thoughts and your opinions. I apologize for trying to make you be like me. I want to hear what you have to say because you have an opinion and your opinion matter. And I want to be here to listen to your opinion, your thoughts, and your feelings. And I want to be able to respect you in that way. So please forgive me if I have disregarded you in any kind of way as it relates to honoring you and respecting you. So being able to do that also helps to build trust and also helps to build connection when you're able to do that as well. So that's number 4. Number 5, compromise, the big C. Many times people have such a hard time compromising because when people feel as if they have to compromise on a situation, they feel as if their power is being taken away. And there's nothing wrong with accepting influence from each other. That's all compromise is really about. Compromise is about accepting influence from each other and giving each other the ability to influence decision making and allowing each other to make decisions, knowing that we basically have a shared power. We're basically sharing in the decision making process as it relates to our relationship, as it relates to our marriage. There's nothing wrong with compromising. And when you compromise, it's not like you're giving up your way of doing things. What you're doing is you're coming up with basically a solution that you both can agree on. And what you're doing, you're looking at that solution and say, okay, this is going to be in the best interest of the relationship. So compromise doesn't make you less than a person. It doesn't take away power. It doesn't say that you're trying to control me. It's really about being able to influence each other. It's really about accepting influence from each other. When you're able to compromise, you basically have the ability to learn ways to de-escalate conflict. You also are learning ways to manage the conflict in such a way where you're not hurting each other's feelings. So when you're compromising, you're finding ways to accommodate each other. For those of you who are married, when you decided to say I do, when you decided to take those vows, compromise was a part of that. So when you marry somebody, you're in a relationship with somebody, or you're engaged to somebody, please know you're going to have to compromise. You're not going to always get things your way. Things are not going to always go your way. There is no such thing as my way or the highway. Well, I guess you could do that if you don't want to be with that person. But anyway, you shouldn't be doing that. So there's nothing wrong with compromising as it relates to your relationship. When you begin to talk about different topics, when you begin to make decisions about your relationship, compromise is so important. One of the best ways to compromise is to be able to talk to your mate. There's nothing wrong with complaining, but just don't blame. So when you're compromising with your mate, you're not blaming them for anything. You're not saying, oh, woe is me, so you just want things your way. No, you're sitting down, talking to each other about whatever the issue is, identifying the pros and cons of the decisions that you're getting ready to make, and looking for an outcome or a solution that's going to be in the best interest of the relationship. And one of the best things to do when you're getting ready to have a conversation with your mate, and you know that this conversation is one of those conversations that may kind of be a little shaky a little bit, or a conversation that may go left, one of the best things you can do is use I statements instead of you statements. You want to learn the ability to describe what is happening or how you're feeling without judging, without evaluating, and you want to always be polite and always be appreciative. So number 5 is compromise. Number 6, learning to manage conflicts. You know, in relationships, for some reason, we forget, those social skills that we learned when we were in kindergarten, that we learned growing up. For those of us that had siblings, learning to manage conflicts. All relationships have conflicts. There is nothing wrong with conflicts in a relationship. Having conflicts helps your relationship to grow. For those people who do not deal with conflicts in their relationship is stagnant and the relationship is not growing. And actually, one of both parties are basically suppressing how they really feel because they don't want to rock the boat. But let me go ahead and free you now, let you know that there's nothing wrong with having conflicts in your relationship. Conflicts helps your relationship to grow. It becomes an issue when you sweep things under the rug and you don't learn to manage the conflict or deal with the conflict and you let things build up. That's why we have so many people who are still fighting about things that happened 10 years ago. You've been married 20 years, but you're still fighting about something that happened 10 years ago because you never learned how to manage the conflict. You never learned how to deal with. You never learned how to say, you know what, let's look at this for what it is. Let's identify what we need to do. What you've done, you swept it under the rug, and now every year there's another fight on top of fight on top of fight, and it's building on top of each other, so eventually it erupts just like a volcano. Because you don't ever deal with anything. And many times people hide behind being quiet because they don't want to rock the boat in the relationship to deal with the conflicts that are actually going on in the relationship. So there's nothing wrong with having conflicts. Conflicts help your relationship to grow. Conflicts are good for your relationship because conflicts help you to grow up. Conflicts help you to begin to really see yourself and begin to say, you know what, let me take a step back. Conflict gets you out of that little child stage to the adult stage to say, let's deal with this because we can no longer run or no longer hide from dealing with the issues that are actually impacting our marriage or impacting our relationship. So there are 2 different types of problems that show up in every relationship. They are perpetual problems and solvable problems. Perpetual problems are those problems that show up over and over and over and over again. That you can't even find a solution to these problems. These are just problems that you know that, hey, they're just going to show up. But the thing about it, when it comes to perpetual problem, many times people get stuck and they don't realize that they're stuck, and then they stop talking to one another. And see, that's the problem in a lot of relationships. Many people are having issues, and the issue or the problem in the relationship is a perpetual problem. A perpetual problem is one of those problems that, you know how you had a problem 5 years ago? And every time you and your honey have an argument, that same problem shows back up. Every time a certain holiday come up, that same problem shows back up. Every time you get ready to do something major, that same problem always shows up. Every time you get ready to make a major decision or even do anything in a relationship and it's something that causes an argument, that same problem comes up over and over and over again, which basically causes you to become stuck, that's a perpetual problem. Perpetual problems are always going to be there. There's really nothing you can do about it. The only thing you can do about a perpetual problem is look at it for what it is. If you cannot identify a solution to it, then you know what? Is it even worth you constantly arguing about? What you want to do is, in that perpetual problem, you want to look at, is there anything within that problem that's solvable? Because remember, there are two types of problems, perpetual and solvable problems. Solvable problems are those problems that you can identify a solution for. Those are the problems you can sit down and say, okay, this is what it is. Solvable problems are those problems that you have control over. Solvable problems are those problems you can sit down and say, these are the pros and cons. This is what would be in the best interest of the relationship. This is what would be in the best interest of the marriage. This is what would be in our best interest. Because remember, you are one when you are married. So what is going to be in your best interest? So your solvable problem, you can actually sit and discuss those problems. You can sit and identify the pros and cons and list what it is that you want to do in order to solve them. But the problem is people get stuck on the perpetual problem and they can never get to the solvable problem because everybody wants to win. Everybody wants to be right. If you're going to manage the conflicts in your relationship, you got to give up the desire to always want to be right, to always want to win, and do what's going to be in the best interest of the marriage or in the best interest of the relationship. So when we talk about managing conflicts, you got to develop the ability to discuss the issue without hurting each other's feelings. That is something that I don't understand. You took a vow. For those of you who are married, you took a vow. You said you love this person. But yet and still, when you have a conversation, when there's a conflict, when there's a problem, you say things to hurt the other person's feeling. You hit below the belt. And many of y'all know you hit below the belt because you say it. You admit it. You know that you've hit below the belt. You know that you said something to hurt that person's feelings. So when it comes to managing conflict, you got to develop the ability to discuss the issue without hurting the person's feelings. You got to be able to address the issue or address the problem with affection, with empathy, and sometimes with humor. You know, sometimes we get so caught up with wanting to be right, and because our feelings are hurt, if our mate says something that brings a little humor to the situation, we mad all over again. I know you did say that to me. I can't believe you out here acting like this, knowing that we having this problem. Relax. You know, one of the things that people fail to realize is that when you're so upset, when you're so mad, and when you're so angry, your blood pressure goes up. But see, you can't see that because it's internal. Your blood pressure goes up, your heart rate goes up, your pulse rate goes up. You can't see that. So at some point, you got to learn to relax. And then another part of managing conflicts is being able to work together to understand, respect, and agree with each other's perspective. You know, for some reason, I just feel, you know, when people get into relationships and especially when you've been together for so long, you forget all about respect. It's almost like respect goes out the door. Why? Why? You got to always learn to work together. And if you know that you struggle in the area of working together and now you've got married, get into counseling. Learn some skills. Learn some tools. Develop the ability to work together. Everybody, we don't just grow up with these skills most of the time, especially those who may be the oldest child, the baby, or the only child. Sometimes it's difficult to work together, and we got to own that. When you have been the oldest for so long, when you've never had to share, when you've never had to work with anybody, when you've always had the ability to quit everything and drop everything and never had to talk to anybody about anything, let's own that. Be upfront and honest and say, hey, this is an area I struggle in. I need some help. I need to learn how to work with you instead of working against you. And saying that's the thing in marriages. So many people are working against each other and not working together. Your mate, your husband, your wife is not your enemy. It's the problems in the relationship that you have to learn to deal with and not allow those problems cause you to turn your back on each other because you lack the skill of working together. So that's managing conflicts. So the last one, number 7, create a sense of shared meaning together. What is your vision that you have together for the relationship or for the marriage? What is your mission for your marriage or your relationship? Think about, how do you spend holidays? Do you continue to spend holidays like you spend holidays, growing up? Are you going to create your own rituals or your own routines on spending holidays? What are your bedtime routines? These are things you should be talking about. Developing the ability to honor and respect each other's dreams and goals. When was the last time you sat down with each other and talked about your dreams and goals? Your dreams and goals for the relationship, your dreams and goals for each other, and your personal dreams and goals. And being able to honor and respect each other's dreams and goals. And then being able to talk to each other about the things that you hope for, the things that you will like for the family, the legacy that you want to leave for the family. And then being able to sit down and talk to each other about, each other's roles. When developing a sense of shared meaning together, that basically has a lot to do with identifying how you can support each other. It has a lot to do with identifying how you spend your holidays, the routines that you have together, the things that you do together. How do you take vacations? How do you do date nights? How do you do dinner? How do you discuss stressful events and relationship issues? How many of you have a plan or have something that you do in your relationship where you can sit and say, hey, let's talk about the stressful day we had? Instead of talking about the problems that are going on in your relationship, at the end of the day, don't talk about the fact that there's no grocery in the refrigerator. Don't talk about the fact that the laundry hadn't been done or the kitchen's not clean. Take a step back for a moment. Discuss stressful events that actually happen throughout the day. We all have them. Sit back and talk to each other about how things were during the day for you while you were. What was the most stressful thing that happened at work? Learn to sit and talk to each other about things that are outside of the relationship. You don't always have to talk about relationship issues. Go to counseling for that. Your home should be a safe haven. Your home should be a place where you can sit and relax and just talk to each other. Talk to each other about something funny that happened at work that you couldn't share with your coworkers, but you come home and share with your mate. This creates an environment of calmness. This creates an environment of relaxation. Whenever you can come home to a peaceful home, to a relaxing home, to a home where, I can just release and not have all the stress that I had at work, that is a home you want to come home to. You don't want to come home and walk into a conflict. You don't want to come home to you ain't cooked yet. You don't want to come home to why this kitchen looking like this. You don't want to come home to why didn't you go to the grocery store? Why did you drink? You don't want to come home to all that foolishness. Come home to something peaceful. Begin to create an environment for your mate to come home to that's relaxing, that's calming, that's stress-less. Sit down and talk about how your day was in detail. And show genuine interest in each other when you're talking about those things. So creating a sense of shared meaning has a lot to do with also how do you deal with illnesses. So it's really all about creating routines and creating, ways that you are going to manage things that come up in the relationship. Do you even talk about when you want to make love or what love making is and what that looks like to you and what that means to you, married people? And some of y'all that's dated and engaged as well. Let's talk about it. So, do you talk about those things? Because let me tell you something. Everybody has a different perspective. We all grown. Let's talk about it. Talk about what that means to you. Talk about what making love means to you. Talk about what that looks like. See, this is the thing. People want to shy away from talking about some of these sensitive issues in their relationship, and then they get married and these issues get bigger and bigger and bigger because you know what? You didn't talk about it, and you don't talk about it. Talk about how you enjoy dinner dates or how you want to do dinner dates. Talk about what you want to do to stay healthy. Talk about what are some of your values and beliefs when it comes to relationship. Talk about how those values and beliefs were created. And that would help you to understand each other a little bit better. We got to get to a place where we begin to talk about things and talk about what your routines are going to be when it comes to certain situations in your relationship. And then talk about how do you depart and how do you end your day? Do you just run out of the house when it's time to go to work? Or do you take time to really be intimately connected to each other? And I'm not talking about sex when I'm talking about intimacy, because intimacy is more than sex. Intimacy has a lot to do with communication. Looking into your mate's eyes and talking to him and her before they go to work. Letting them know you want them to have a good work and showing them appreciation before they get to work. Don't let your mate's co-workers cherish them and show them more appreciation than you do at home. No, that starts at home. Your mate should not have to go outside the home to get anything that should already be done inside the home. And I'm going to leave that alone. So, in closing, let's go back over the 7 ways to have a better relationship, or 7 things you can do so that you can have the relationship that you want. Number 1, you want to make sure that you create friendship. Number 2, you want to show each other appreciation. Number 3, you want to build trust and connection. Number 4, you want to show each other respect. You want to respect each other's differences, opinions, and feelings. Number 5, you want to learn to compromise. Number 6, you want to learn how to manage conflicts. And number 7, you want to create a sense of shared meaning together. So I'm going to give you 7 questions or 7 things you can do together. I want to challenge you. When I'm working with my couples, I challenge every last one of my couples. My couples do not leave their session with me without having something that they got to do outside of the session. There's always an action plan. Because I believe in my couples being an active participant in the counseling process. Because one of the things I always let my couples know, I don't tell them what to do. That's something I do not do in my counseling sessions. I do not tell couples what to do. But I teach them how to communicate, how to manage conflict, how to do things differently. I give them different activities that they have to do on their own. And then they make the decision as to whether or not they want to do the activities that would help bring them closer, that would help improve their communication. It's a choice. And one of the things one of my good friends always says, she tell her couples, don't tell anybody you come to me for counseling when you don't do the work. And I have developed that same type of mindset. If you don't want to do the work, don't come to counseling. At least don't call me. Because it's going to take a lot of work in order for you to be the person that you want to be, and in order for your relationship to grow into the relationship that you want it to be. And the thing about it, it can happen. You can have the relationship that you want. You can have the relationship that you've created in your head, but you have to realize it takes 2 people to build a healthy relationship. It takes 2 people to build a loving relationship. It takes 2 people to build a lasting relationship, but you got to do the work. You cannot get married. You cannot be in a relationship with somebody and think that things are just going to happen. No, you got to do the work. So with that being said, I'm going to leave you with 7 things I want to challenge you to do starting tonight. And this is going to cause you to get outside of your comfort zone for some of you, because I want you to spend some time sitting down, talking to each other and connecting. So here's the first, I'm going to give you 7 questions or 7 things I want you to do. The first thing I want you to do, I want you to spend at least 20 minutes a day focusing on these 7 things. 2 of them I'm going to have you to do throughout the week. But the others, I want you to decide when you want to sit down with each other and really talk about these things. But spend at least 20 minutes doing these things. So the first question I want you to ask each other is, what are your dreams and goals for yourself and our family? Now, as your mate answer this question, be genuinely attuned. Pay attention, listen, put your cell phones away, shut down social media, give your mate his or her undivided attention. So question number 1, what are your dreams and goals for yourself and our family? Question number 2, what is the meaning of dinner time? And how should we eat dinner together? This is a very important question because some people didn't grow up sitting around the dinner table eating dinner. Some people ate dinner in their rooms. Some people ate dinner while watching TV. So it's important to sit down and talk about what is the meaning of dinner time and how you should eat dinner together. Some of y'all are arguing about this right now because some of you want to sit at the dinner table and eat dinner, but your mate is like, I'm trying to watch football. I'm trying to do this. I don't want to sit at the table. And the kids are all over the place. Everybody's eating dinner everywhere in one part of the house or the other part of the house. So it's important to sit down and talk about what is the meaning of dinner time. So simple, but many people are arguing about it. And how should we eat dinner together? And then the third question is, how have you changed in the last year? Listen to your mate as he or she talk to you about how they've changed in the last year. And then a follow-up question or a follow-up statement could be, tell me more about that. You know, what about that is so intriguing for you? What about that, makes you this way? Get involved and be attuned to the conversation and listen to their answers. Number 4, what legacy do you want to leave for our family? It's important to talk about that. Most of y'all married people hadn't talked about that. You ain't talked about the legacy you want to leave for the family. Spend some time talking about that. Then the next one is, what are some of your worries and stressors? What are some of the things that are stressing you out? Listen to what your mate is saying, and a follow-up statement could be, what is it about that stresses you the most? And tell me a little bit more about that. The next question is, what can I do to make you feel more loved and appreciated? That is a question that I would challenge every married person, engaged couple, dating couple who know you're going to ask the person to marry you. This question right here, every week. What can I do to make you feel more loved and appreciated? Because see, we change from time to time, especially for us women. We may want something this week and next week we may not want that. It happens. Let's be real. We got to talk about that. That is real. So what can I do to make you feel more loved and more appreciated? And I would recommend that you ask this question every week or every 2 weeks. But the goal is to get you to connect. The goal is to get you to communicate. The goal is to get you to build a friendship. That is the purpose of these questions and statements that I'm giving you, because I want you to build that connection, build that friendship, build trust, build connection. I want you to get into that habit of developing routines. The next one, share with each other what holidays mean. Holidays mean something else to each person. One person may not even like holidays, but they may just celebrate it because you like it. It's important to know that. It's important to know if your mate likes Christmas or not, or if they just doing it out of obligation because it's something that you like. It's important to know if your mate likes Easter or Thanksgiving. It's important to share with each other what holidays mean. And then the last thing that I want you to do, which is going to be something you're probably going to do in the morning before you go to work. So before you leave for work, spend about 2 minutes talking to each other. And then after you're done talking to each other, give each other a 6-second kiss and then say goodbye. This has been Dr. LaWanda N. Evans with another segment of The Truth About Your Relationship. 7 ways to have the relationship you want, or you can call it 7 ways to have a better relationship. If you have any questions or concerns, you feel free to email me at counseling@drlne.com. If you would like to schedule an appointment with me for relationship counseling, marriage counseling, premarital counseling, my number is 972-855-8947. And you can also visit my website, which is www.drlne.com. E.com. You can also follow me on Twitter. I am at Dr. LaWanda on Twitter, on Instagram at Dr. LaWanda N. Evans, and I'm also on Facebook as LaWanda N. Evans and Dr. LaWanda N. Evans on my Facebook business page. For my couples, I have a workshop coming up in 2019. I am doing the 7 principles for making marriage work. This is going to be the first one for 2019. It's going to be held February the 8th and 9th here in Dallas, Texas. That information is also on my website, or you may go to Eventbrite, type in the 7 principles for making marriage work, or type in my name and it should come up for you. If you have any questions, you can also call me or email me. But I am calling it a weekend of love. The 7 principles for making marriage work. We're going to start that Friday night starting at 6:30. So from 6:30 to 9. And then that Saturday morning, we're going to go from 9 to 4. And I'm going to do something a little bit different with my couple. So it's going to be 2 days, and hopefully I will see you there. You can register. Registration information again is on my website, and again it is called the Weekend of Love, February the 8th and the 9th here in Dallas, Texas. There's also a hotel discounted rate, and you will also get breakfast as well as lunch will be served on that Saturday. Breakfast and lunch on that Saturday, and then that Friday evening you can bring in your own dinner. But anyway, thank you so much. It has been great. I appreciate you all. Until next time, I will see you all the next time for my next segment of The Truth About Your Relationship. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.